I'm Joshua Yukich. I'm a research assistant professor in the Department of Global Health Systems and Development. I also work with the Center for Applied Malaria Research and Evaluation. As a research assistant professor, I mainly focused on doing research, but I also do teach. I teach a team talk course with Dr. Eisel and Dr. Keating, which is on population-based malaria control and prevention. We work on all the skill sets that students need to know to work with malaria control programs, to work with whether it's a governmental agency like USAID or a donor agency or a national malaria control program, that you would need to, the things that you need to be familiar with, whether they're the biology all the way to policy and policy making in that area. I also have taught some courses in the undergraduate level. As an undergraduate, I majored in biochemistry and Latin American studies, and I always kind of tried to put a bunch of different disciplines together, and I actually found public health was one of the places, especially international public health, was one of the places where I got to do science and think about science from a kind of hard science perspective, but still at the same time work in policy, work with governments, and not be just in a lab all the time, and also be in the field. So I think, my interest in general in getting into public health was driven by really loving and caring about science, but not wanting to be sort of stuck in a lab for the rest of my life. And malaria actually just kind of became an area of interest, because it's a huge public health problem globally that, at the time I got into it was pretty under-recognized and has now gotten obviously a lot more publicity. But also because it really is a field, an area where you have to think ecologically, you have to think about the environment, you have to think about the interactions of people, sometimes animals, certainly mosquitoes, weather, human movement, and all kinds of, as well as to the level of policy and statistics and what control programs can do and what you can do to influence it. But you have to have this kind of holistic approach of drawing in a lot of other disciplines. The most important things that you can probably do while you're doing a master's in public health or starting out, it's a short degree and you don't have a huge amount of opportunity to mess around with trying many different things. And I think everybody needs to understand that it's really important to come away with a strong skill set that you can market essentially to employers after you finish at Tulane or wherever you go for school. And that can be I tend to push students to get a good quantitative skill set, and that's because that's where I really know, and that's my area. Most of the work I do is heavily quantitative, so whether it's statistics or mathematical epidemiology or something of those natures, that's what I tend to push students for. But there's also great qualitative skill sets that you can get, whether it's sort of anthropological type research and qualitative research methods, but also to get to know an area of public health, to find whether it's malaria like myself or HIV/AIDS, or whether it's a domestic health problem or area community mobilization, those kinds of ideas, some topical area, some area that you really are kind of passionate about, but also you really need this some kind of a skill set, something you can say, this is what I know how to do. And that's incredibly important for employers.